Hello everyone, good morning. I posted my video yesterday about the Silicon Valley cult, and I wrote a very interesting description, and then there's only 4 views, but someone left 13 comments, and I don't usually look at comments, but I suppose I will once I'm done making this video, just to see if it's the Unabomber Manifesto. Hello, good morning. Happy Friday. I hope everyone has a good weekend. Brian Jennings here, the Critical Sorcerer. This channel exists to discuss the nature of reality, right? The ethical responsibilities of people in relation to the mind, the mysteries of the mind, the nature of my relationship with Quentin Tarantino and the movie Critic. Right? Quentin entered into a Faustian covenant to compel me to blow my brains out, and at the very least appear insane to everyone around him, after he set up $1 million screening of Jackie Brown, wherein he expected me to telepathically compel myself onto the stage, question him about his book, Cinema Speculation, and therein he would reveal me as the movie critic. He canceled the film 2 months prior, in April, as a result of a campaign that I began in reaction to him playing sadistic remote viewing mind games with me the previous December in January. So I wrote him 4 letters about playing the lead in the film in July. Didn't write him again. There's nothing else to say. He remote viewed me from the time that he read the letter through the end of January, accepting my mail, right, playing this game with me. And then, right, the trades announced that Brad Pitt was reuniting with him, and he stopped accepting my mail. I have all of those envelopes. And so that fucking pissed me off, and it still pisses me off when I think about it. How now he's created this whole sick condition in everyone's mind that's involved, when all he ever had to do was say, I really appreciate your letters. I'm getting a lot of pressure from the studio, so I can't cast you, but all the best. I know you'll play a great Hamlet. Right? That's it. That's all it would have taken. And I would have said, wow, that's cool. That's cool. He read my letters. Right? But for him to say nothing, I said, no, this guy's a fucking arrogant jackass, and I made it my business to ruin that movie, and I suppose I have in a fundamental way. So I wrote a 7,000-word essay reminding the world at large that Cliff Booth and Brad Pitt are the same person. Quentin pulled the story of his spousal abuse on a private jet in 2016, which caused his divorce, out of the air, put it in the water, transmuted it into a murder. He loves violence. He loves putting violence in his films. A Shakespearean murder. It's shown off screen. On a boat, right? So the assault occurs in the air. He pulls it into the water, right? The water, right? It's inverted. Everything is inverted, right? Water is a wet sky, right? A boat is a water plane, right? This is what writers do. They change the name, they change the locale, right? And so the things that you see Cliff Booth enduring on the set of The Green Hornet, where he beats up Bruce Lee, are the same things that Brad Pitt was suffering when he made Ad Astra or whatever other film he was shooting after he destroyed his marriage. As in, oh gosh, did you hear that guy killed his wife, right? Like, that's like, anyone who's seen the movie knows exactly what I'm talking about. People were saying the same thing about Brad Pitt. Oh gosh, did you hear Brad beat up Angelina? Oh, did you hear Angelina Jolie filed for divorce, etc., etc., etc. And so everyone in show business is in on the joke, right? And so Quentin, like, you know, he turns it into this perverse, like, virtue. That's him, like, being humble and having humility. And so if he didn't win an Oscar, I could buy that. I could say, yeah, then he's just humiliating himself for Quentin. But for him to get all the awards, it's just another sick psychological spell that he's, like, casting over the world. Right? That not only should you forgive me for insulating Harvey Weinstein, and I'm sure that he did that in a palpable way, using the same tactics that he used and uses to perpetuate his campaign upon me. But you should also forgive Brad Pitt and give him an Oscar because I'm a writer. And so the fact that he beat up a woman on an airplane while he was drunk, and the fact that he destroyed his marriage and his relationship with his kids, right? You should just like, oh, let's all just forget about that. Right? And so I realized that after he refused to say anything to me. And so I put that in a 7,000 word essay and started reviewing movies in protest. The Movie Critic is a movie about a guy who reviews movies. I reviewed 3 films. I posted my 4,500 word review of Gone with the Wind directly to Quentin's personal Twitter at QTarantino tweet, and he canceled the film within 12 hours. That's what actually happened. Right? That it's not like an aloof. Right? He knew, right? Because I had written about 12,000 words in a week on top of the 7,000 word essay that I had written over the subsequent 5 weeks. That this guy's going to go off forever. He's never going to stop. And so that's why we're here now. Right? Because again, right, all he's ever had to do is be simple and honest with me, and now it's done. The damage is done. We're a hive mind. We're a case study in remote viewing. Right? And so it's incumbent upon me to talk about it. Because, right, for a while I was genuinely concerned that he will murder me, and I still don't know that. This is the point, right? At any time, as a result of the condition that he's placed himself in, he can always say, right? And given everything that's occurred, given everything that he's done to me, there's no reason not to expect and assume that he's not prepared to go all the way and pay someone to murder me. There's no reason to assume that. There's no reason to assume that he has an actual ethical standard, right? Because the things that he touches on is the ugliest depravity. Come here, buddy. That anyone can practice, right? That he is a sick practitioner of the dark arts, and he doesn't see it that way. But that's what he is. That's what he is, right? He's cultivated all of these bullshit notions in my mind to make me appear insane and or compel me to such a state of mind, to such a level of humiliation that I would feel that suicide is better, because he's always wanted me to kill myself. The reason that he sold his script on April the 1st... One second. Is because I started contacting the press and I started talking to everybody and saying, it's fucked up. No, I'm coming clean. No more secrets. And so, right, this is what I think, though I don't completely know. That his agency, William Morris Endeavor, said, we expect you to pay him. This is fucked up. I'm sick of this. I don't want to think about this. And he said, okay, I'll say it's an April Fool's joke. And then he'll sue me from A to B, which is in 5 months from now, next April Fool's. And then, right, I'll say, oh, gotcha, because he actually has made the movie. Right, the David Fincher, he shoved his hand up David Fincher's ass like a puppet. That's like what happened. And if it is a David Fincher film, right, that's even funnier, right? That they're like change the color grading or whatever. It's his film. It's not. There's no nothing. There's no David Fincher. Right. There's no Netflix. Right. He's gonna say, "Oh, gotcha. It was an April Fool's joke from last year." Right. And so that's been the design all this time. Right. And so I tried to sue him, but now we're done. No more lawsuits unless somebody else wants to pay for it. We're done. We're just gonna talk about it. And if we get to the point where he starts releasing material, I'm gonna start writing every member of the Academy. Right? And so this is the point. It's not to bitch, right? It's not to do anything other than tell the truth, other than set the record straight to protect my life. Because as long as it stays this disgusting, occulted thing, right, that he is not the only one who's aware of, right? There's like 15 people, powerful people, all aware of his campaign against me. Then I have no choice but to assume that I have to look over my shoulder forever. And I'm not comfortable with that. So if he doesn't want to tell the truth about the movie, if he wants to lie about it forever, and it's obvious that he does, then it's incumbent upon me to write every single person and allow him to continue lying to all of them so that they at least consider what the truth of the matter actually is. And in so doing, protect my life. Right? That's why this channel exists. And it's scary for sure. Because at any time, right? And it's like, oh, the days are like, oh, it's getting better, like, right? He's not doing anything right now, right? Production Weekly slated he's supposed to begin an untitled project in December, and he has his West End premiere in January. In my previous videos, I discussed how anytime he's doing something, this is when, right? This is when he's utilizing his sick clairvoyance, him and the coven of sorcerers and witches around him, to see me suffer, right? To make me feel like, right? 1 second. Like I have no choice but to endure their sick siege upon me. And I do still stand by this, that if I turn it on him, right, and I get 4 or 5 people, he'll either pay me or he'll kill me. That's like, right? And so since, right, it's a very subtle thing, right? It's not quite so easy for me to compel people to practice high evil in the way that it's easy for him, because he dresses it up, right? That he like tells them what they need to hear, right, to justify, or they're just all evil, and that's a potential as well. So it's a double-edged sword, because I know that I was supposed to submit my mind to him, right, to not like to be a sin eater to Hollywood, to be like the last thing that subjects themselves to his psychic pressure. But it is a high depravity. It is the highest evil. And so in that way, I made the right call, because I don't support evil. And if he was cool, if he was actually a good person in the world, he would have paid me as soon as I blew it at Tribeca and moved on with his life. That's the point. That he sees me as some sort of recognition of his impotence as a psychic, and that's what I am. 1 second. So the reason that I talk about it every day, despite being exhausted with it all, is because there's no reason beyond his psychological complexes that we can't just be honest with ourselves and the world about the movie. I find no fault in his expectation for me to be telepathic. There's no, right? There's not, like, it's his movie. It's his movie. But for him to use his clairvoyance, right, to compel me to suicide, right, all out of love, out of trust, out of me loving him and feeling bad about being a coward, I didn't do it to intentionally hurt him. I guess that's the only argument. But that is the definition of evil, and I find myself, right, drifting to hideous conspiracies, the ugliest, right, where I just, right, because it's a two-way street. There's no mystery here, but I know exactly what's occurring, right? He uses his words, I use mine, but we're both children of the same school. So it's time to talk about it. Right? There's no formula where this guy's the center of attention the rest of his life without me making sure the whole world understands that he has a great darkness in him, and he's in fact not a cool guy, right? That he did in fact cancel his film for egotistical reasons, because he didn't want an actor reviewing movies in protest who wrote him letters from the heart, right? And when he didn't give him what he wanted, right, when I proved him an impotent psychic, right, rather than be reasonable, rather than be cool, rather than move on with his life, he and the people closest to him, right, entered into a disgusting siege to compel me to appear insane, to justify his playing Russian roulette with his career and losing, and ultimately to compel me to blow my brains out. And so now that I haven't done that, and I will not be doing that, I'll never give him the satisfaction, right? I have no reason to assume that he's not prepared to do the next step, which is outright assassination. And so this is why I talk about it, right? Because he is obviously evil. That's it. There's no, right? He doesn't respect that wife he's got, doesn't respect his family, doesn't respect his kids. He puts so much psychic baggage on his daughter, right? Because he put it on himself. That every time he looks at her, right, he thinks, he's like baby talking, saying, oh, no, you're not a bitch who fucks men for $500 an hour, right? It's a joke to him. It's a joke to him, right? That he blasted her innocent mind with so much psychic baggage that it's going to hang over her like a malignancy of thought forever, and there's nothing he can do about it. Unless he's prepared to, right? Dedicate the rest of his life to good works. And I know that he's not. Right? He'll never do any of the things that I'm talking about, despite how wonderful they are, as far as using his resources for acts of charity, because then, again, that is him submitting to me as a psychic. Right? So he has no choice but to, like, stay in his sex dungeon, right? Spraying goat's blood all over that goddess of a wife he's got, right? Pulling out tweezers and, right, casting magic spells upon the world. Because if he does anything of the kind, right, if he announces that he has a nonprofit, if he announces that he's retiring, right, and devoting all of his wealth towards improving the conditions of the world, if he announces, right, that he's going to open up his own film school, right, all of these things, then, boom, you go back to my videos, and I say, oh, wow, this guy kind of mentioned that, didn't he? I wonder if he did start, like, doing all of these good things because he has a lot of guilt over involving his daughter in a sadistic mind game that he doesn't actually understand. Right? So it's like he's got to ride this ticket, and I'm helping him. I'm helping him along the way, right? That I'm just a weird, crazy guy, right? Ask Robert De Niro, right? Ask Brad Pitt. Ask Stacey Sher. Ask Mike Simpson. Ask aemanuel. Ask David Mamet. Ask Paul Schrader. Ask Francesca Scorsese. Ask Tranastasio. Ask Eliza Anastasio. The list goes on and on, right? This is not just like one guy saying things. This is me giving the world palpable ways to prove me delusional. That's the point, right? And so all of those other people, right, with the exception of Mike and Ari and Stacey and Brad Pitt and Robert De Niro, they can genuinely say, I don't know what the truth of the matter is. Like, I don't know why Quentin canceled the film, right? But everyone that's closest to him, they all actually know that he canceled the film because he wanted to give me a shot. But in order to give me a shot, I had to bend my psychic mind, right? I had to bend my conscious awareness to his psychic intention. And so when I didn't do that, right, he's been scrambling ever since, right? Because he didn't actually want to cancel the film, right? He didn't actually want to do. He just wanted to, like, violate my mind forever in exchange for playing the role. Because I wrote him passionate letters about being a writer. It's a movie about a writer. So when he tells the Church of Tarantino podcast, oh, how can I make the most boring job in the world exciting? Right, that's him saying, you're not interesting. You, Brian Jennings, the guy who wrote me from the heart. Right? I'll spend my life slandering you. And so I'm helping him along the way. And I'm going to write everyone involved, right? Everyone in the world. I wrote the Pope. I already wrote him. I don't know if you read the letter, but he had Robert De Niro there, of course, like a week ago, and that's just funny. It's the most blasphemous thing I've seen in a long time. Because Robert De Niro insulates a high evil by allowing Quentin to perpetuate this disgusting lie against my character and soul. So, right. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you think. Share the story. Right? It's bullshit. He's not interesting. He's not interesting. That's the point. Right? That play on the West End, it's either he's mocking me relentlessly either way. Right? But it's either him, like, outright writing something about the condition between us, or he's stolen my script about Elvis getting cast in West Side Story because it's a comedy. Like, that's my intellectual property. Right? So, I thought for a long time that he did all of it for my scene, and now I think that he's just sick in his mind. That as far as him not using the scene, he's going to use the scene. Like, it's too good. It's too good. But if he doesn't, then it's a further testament to his depravity. And so, we're going to talk about it forever. Let me know what you think. God bless.